So, guys, many people get confused when we talk about bias and variance, because let's say that I have a model for the training data set. For the training data set, it gives us somewhere around 90% accuracy. Let's say I'm getting a 90% accuracy. For the test data, I may probably getting somewhere around 70% accuracy. Now, tell me which scenario is basically this. Most of the people will be saying that, okay, fine, it is overfitting. Now, when I say overfitting, I basically mention overfitting by low bias and high variance, right? So many people get confused. Krish, tell me just the exact definition of bias and variance. Low bias, obviously, you are saying that because the training is performed, like the model is performing well with the help of training data set. But with respect to the test data set, the model is not performing well. With respect to training data set, why do we always say bias? And with respect to test data set, why do we always say variance? Okay, so for this, you need to understand the definition of bias. So let me write down the definition of bias over here. So here, I can definitely write that bias, it is a phenomena, it is a phenomena that skews, that skews the result of an algorithm in favor in favor in favor or against an idea, against an idea. I'll make you understand the definition, but understand what I have actually written over here. It is a phenomena that skews the result of an algorithm in favor or against an idea. Whenever I say this specific idea, I will just talk about the training data set initially. Okay, training data set. Now, when we train a specific model, suppose if I have this specific model over here, and I'm training with this specific training data set. So this is my training data set. Training data set. Now, based on the definition, what does it basically say? It is a phenomenon that skews the result of an algorithm in favor or against an idea or this specific training data set. So, even though I'm training this particular model with this training data set, okay, it may be in favor of that or it may be against of that. That basically means it may perform well, it may not perform well. If it is not performing well, that basically means the accuracy is down, right? If the accuracy is better, at that point of time, what we'll say? See, if the accuracy is better, that time what we'll say? We'll come up with two terms from here. Obviously, you understand, okay? There are two scenarios of bias now here. If it is in favor, that basically means it is performing well with respect to the training data set. I will basically say that it has high bias. If it is not able to perform well with the training data set, then here I will say it as low bias. I hope everybody is able to understand in this specific thing, because many people has this kind of confusion. Okay. Now, similarly, if I talk about variance, let's say about variance, because you need to understand the definition. A definition is very much important. Okay. If I just talk about the definition of variance, I'm just going to refer like this. The variance refers to the changes in the model when using different portion of the training or test data. Now let's understand this particular definition. Variance refers to the changes in the model when using different proportion of the training data or test data. We obviously know that whenever initially, if I have a model, understand from the definition, everything will make sense. I am basically training initially with the training data. Okay, because we divide our data set. See, our data set, whenever we are working with, we divide this into two parts. One is our train data and test data. Okay, because this is a test data is a part of that particular data set, right? And suppose in this particular training data, it gets trained and performs well. Here I'm actually talking about bias. But when we come with respect to the prediction of this specific model, at that point of time, I can use other training data. That basically means that training data may not be similar, or I can also use test data. Now, in this test data, what we do some kind of predictions. These are my predictions. And in this prediction, again, I may get two scenario. Which is basically mentioned by variance. It refers to the changes in the model when using different portion of the training or test data. Refers to the changes basically means whether it is able to give a good prediction or wrong predictions. That's it. So in this particular scenario, if it gives a good prediction, I may definitely say it as low variance. That basically means the accuracy with respect to the test data is also very good. If I probably get a bad accuracy, at that time I basically say it as high variance. So if I talk about three scenarios over here, let's say this is my model 1 and this is my model 2 and this is my model 3. Now in this scenario, let's consider that my model 1 has the training accuracy of 90% and test accuracy of 75%. Similarly, I have here as my train accuracy of 60% and my test accuracy of 55%. Now, similarly, if I have my train accuracy of 90% and my test accuracy of 92%. Now tell me what things you will be getting. Here, obviously, you can directly say that fine, your training accuracy is better. Now you're talking about bias. So this basically indicates that this has low bias. And since your test accuracy is bad, because it is when compared to the train accuracy, it is less. So here you are basically going to say high variance. Understand with respect to the definition. Similarly over here, what you will say? High bias, high variance, because obviously it is not performing well. This is the another scenario. The last scenario is that this is the scenario that we want because it is low bias and low variance. Okay, many people have basically asked me the definition with respect to bias and variance, and here I've actually discussed, and this gives me a generalized model, and this is what is our aim when we are working as a data scientist. So I hope you have understood the basic difference between bias and variance, and I was able to give you a lot of examples, lot of understanding with respect to this. So I hope you have actually got this particular understanding of this two terms which we specifically talk about: high bias, low bias, high variance, low variance, right? So this was it from my side, guys, and I hope you have understood this.